Do you remember those times at school where you were allowed to listen to a recording in English and read along with the transcript at the same time? If you answered no, then I'm not surprised. I don't remember doing that when I was learning French at school. The goal of listening back then was to sit there terrified, hoping to catch a few words and answer the multiple choice questions. That's because nobody taught us how to listen. We didn't learn the pronunciation rules that would have helped us not only sound better, but also hear better. We didn't learn strategies for dealing with fast-spoken French, well, apart from learning to say Pouvez-vous répéter, s'il vous plaît. We didn't learn any techniques for improving our listening, apart from listen a lot or answer these comprehension questions. The unspoken rule was that having a transcript is bad. It's cheating. You should just listen and deal with it. If you listen with a text, then you'll never improve your listening skills. And besides, you can just guess from context if you don't understand. And it's okay to not catch every word. But what good is just listening when you don't know how the language sounds, how words join together, or how sounds disappear? You don't have effective strategies for your listening. You're relying on multiple choice or true or false questions to tell you if you're any good. But the reality is you can guess the answers to these questions. And even if you do get the answer right, you don't know why you're right. You need to do more than just guess from context. What if you guess wrong? You could misinterpret an entire conversation. You could misunderstand important instructions from a boss or colleague. You could miss your train or your flight because you misheard the announcement. They just mentioned our flight number, but are they telling us it's delayed or cancelled? It makes a big difference. What good is it not to worry about every word? The words that are hard to catch in English are precisely the words that are important. Take the difference between affirmative and negative sentences, for instance. You should come and you shouldn't come. The first one could be a friendly invitation to a party or some other event. The second is a warning telling you not to attend. Pretty different meanings, right? The problem in English is that we squeeze all these little grammatical words into the same space. That's why two similar sentences take the same amount of time to say, and those poor little grammatical words get squashed right down to the point where they're very difficult to catch. And if you don't catch them, then you're going to have communication problems, even though 9 times out of 10 you know these words perfectly well, because you know the grammar of the language and you read often enough. This is why you get stuck in these all too familiar situations. Can you identify with them? Reading subtitles for years and never getting the feeling that you're improving, or worse, regressing because you're just reading words you know but still can't recognise in speech. Avoiding situations where you have to talk to groups of native speakers for fear of not understanding, even when you can express yourself perfectly well, and people even compliment you on your English. I'm proud to be a broken record on these issues because I'm so passionate about them. I don't want past assumptions like transcripts are bad for your listening to stop you from making progress. You want to improve. You know what you're doing at the moment isn't working. You're open to trying new ideas even if you're not confident with technology, and I'm so glad you're here because I want to help you with exactly that. I want to show you there's nothing wrong or dangerous about using a transcript. If you have a text, you can do tons of cool stuff to enhance your listening. Let's take this Blogcast episode for instance. Thanks to the text, you can create a fabulous do-it-yourself, DIY, listening activity that'll help you better understand spoken English by training your ears to catch all those annoying grammatical words. You'll find these activities easier to do if you're a very important listener, VIL, because I send you the PDF of each blog post. Want to become a VIL? Then you just need to invest in yourself and your listening by investing in me. Head over to my Learn With Me page and choose the product or service you're interested in. You can start from as low as €5 with my listening test, which will get your listening conversation ready. Are you ready to create a listening activity that will open your ears to how English really sounds? Here's what you can do with today's blog post and blogcast. 1. Copy and paste the blog post into a word processing document. I live and breathe Google Docs, but this would also work in Microsoft Word or Pages if you're on a Mac. 2. Do a find and replace search. What's that, you ask? If you're on a PC, press Ctrl plus F together. If you're on a Mac like me, press Command plus F. A little dialog box will pop up. 3. Click on the 3 little dots on the right. Another box that will pop up. 4. We're going to remove some of the words that you find hard to catch from the document. You probably have a hard time with prepositions to, for, from, of, etc., articles, a and the, or auxiliary verbs is, has, have, will, can, etc. In the find box, type a word that you find hard to catch. In the replace with box, press the space bar a couple of times, then click replace all. 5. When you come back to your document, you'll discover that all the to's, or whichever word you chose, have been replaced by gaps. Well done, you've just created your own gap fill exercise. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's a bit too easy if you know that every gap represents the word to. Choose a few features you find difficult and gap them out. You just need to go back a couple of times and repeat the steps with another grammatical word. I recommend a conjunction like and or a pronoun like he, but you can choose whichever words cause you the most problems. What's interesting though is that even with just the word to gapped out, you can listen back and try to notice which to's are easier to catch. Even a simple, tiny word like this can be pronounced by the same person in a multitude of different ways. Some to's will be closer to the dictionary or careful pronunciation with the full oo sound. Most will contain a relaxed schwa sound, Others will be just a t sound with no vowel. In other cases, the following word or even the previous word will affect the way to sounds. If the next sound is a vowel, you might notice a linking w or y sound. The important thing to remember is that all these little words are on a continuum from most careful to most reduced. As a native speaker, I'm skilled in taking the hardest to catch weak form that barely resembles anything and transforming it back into to. It's easy for me because I've been practicing since before I was born. Listening is the first language skill you develop, and you start doing so when you're in your mother's womb. All the latest listening research suggests that you as a learner need to do these types of ear training exercise. I know, it's not as much fun as just sticking on a few podcasts while you're cleaning the house or taking a walk. But like anything in life, if you treat it like a game, if you track and measure your progress, you can make it fun and effective. What else can a transcript or text do for my listening? Transcripts build your confidence. Listening to a foreign language is a scary business. Words disappear faster than you can catch and understand them. If you're in a conversation with someone, you can't go back, and you'll know from experience that it gets awkward when you constantly ask people to repeat. Not that it's much fun either to smile and nod and pretend you understand. When you're starting out, you can read along with the podcast or whatever you're listening to and build your confidence by recognizing how words you already know sound. You can then listen back to the podcast or recording without the transcript, feeling a little more confident. Once you're feeling braver, you can listen first, then go back and listen with the transcript. After, you can listen for a third time without the transcript and notice how much more you understand thanks to the transcript. To get in some serious ear training, you can do a dictation exercise. The transcript then gives you the answer and the insight as to why you didn't understand. Give yourself permission to feel good about transcripts. Transcripts don't have to hinder your listening. They can enhance it if you use them the right way. Using a transcript is not cheating. In fact, it's a proven way to scaffold your listening. What I mean by that is it gives you the confidence to build on your skills. You can transition, just as you can from subtitles, from reading and listening together, to listening, then reading and checking, to listening without the text, or only using the text to do dictations with really tricky sections. As you've seen in this blog post and the others I've been writing over the last few weeks about blogcasting and podcast transcripts, having a text means you can create your own listening tasks. No more boring comprehension questions that don't improve your understanding anyway. Your next steps. If you've enjoyed this post, then you'll also enjoy my blog post or my video on using the interactive transcripts on YouTube. You can also download a free sample chapter of my audiobooks. If you want to try out these tips, then my audiobooks are a great place to find listening and reading material all in one place. Plus, by investing in them, you can become a very important listener and get exclusive extra freebies every Friday with your email.